No, right, I understand that. Let me ask you this. Have you ever had a victim on the other side that passed and tried to convey to you, so and so did this or did that to me, or does it work like that with you?
It does, and it has before, and that's a scary place to be because, I think they protect us to not tell us a lot of times because they don't want people looking for us. But yeah, I have had situations where, people will tell me such and such hurt me either by name. It's very uncommon because I think that, again, they want to protect us, but it has happened before for sure.
Wow. Yeah, I can imagine. I wouldn't even know how to begin with that. So, and now let me ask you this. Have you ever taken some of that information and kind of passed it on to law enforcement and they've pursued that and maybe followed up on it and it led to something?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, those are those Crime Stopper moments you don't talk about.
Oh, well, okay, I got you. All right. I would think that would be mind-blowing stuff, because I read shortly back where a spirit had solved a murder of their own murder through like a medium, and I was just curious if that's ever happened to you or same kind of scenario. Yeah.
Well, I had a similar situation recently. The store that I had, the guy broke in the window and robbed it, and as soon as I saw his photo, my people told me exactly where to find him, and that basically went to him, and I went to the cops and told the cops where he was, and he was arrested that night. So, that happens.
Oh, wow. Well, let me ask you this: you do remote viewing too, don't you, or do you?
I do, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. That's always fascinated me.
Well, usually for me, I just kind of focus on the area, turn the door to wherever, I turn a door and I walk to it, and I can kind of see it from an aerial perspective. That's kind of how I do it. And then I focus in on certain areas to wherever they focus me on. A lot of times it's a haunted location or where, something weird is going on energy-wise.
Wow. So if me and my friend were sitting in here talking bad about you and you remote view us, you'd find out what you would know, huh? So to speak.
I probably could only see what you're wearing or see where you're positioned or if you're smoking or something like that. Usually it's not, I wouldn't hear what you would say.
Oh, okay.
It's just kind of I could see it
more like a visual, like maybe from like a drone view or something like that. Maybe then you kind of zoom in or something. I've always been fascinated with the remote viewing. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, it's kind of like a psychic drone view. That's a good way of looking at it. I've got to do something really, really quick. So I don't know if you can cut to a commercial or.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to tell my Facebook Live to go on over to. Go ahead and do what you got to do real quick. I'm going to tell my Facebook Live to come on over to www.nightdreamstalkradio.com and continue in on our conversation. We'll see you on the other side. Okay. So, while we're waiting on Ericka to come back on, we're talking about remote viewing, crime solving, and all kinds of things that she does with her psychic abilities. She's helped law enforcement and all kinds of different things. So I love it. It's a very good story. Now, when she comes back, we're going to tap in on a little bit more about what she's going to do and what she does. Yeah, I was just telling everybody what you was doing, remote viewing and helping law enforcement. So, what are you doing these days? What are you doing now? What's going on with you?
Okay, so basically what I'm doing now is the same thing. I do readings every day.
Okay, so how do you do?
Do readings
do you do them like in your house or over the internet, or do you have a building you go to? How do you do it?
Okay, I do them at a store called Live and Let Live. It's a metaphysical store in Pensacola, and the guy who owns it is from New Orleans, so it's kind of got a little bit of a awesome vibe, and it's got a little bit of New Orleans in it, and lots of crystals and gems and all kind of stuff.
All kind of good stuff going on. So, I love it. Now, do you do a lot of work with your psychic abilities with crystals also?
I don't really tend to do the crystal thing. I mean, I primarily just kind of do my reading thing. That's me. I'm a paper and a pen kind of girl. So I kind of use those tools to write down what I see, and I sometimes draw things. But I kind of don't really. Now, I mean, every now and then I'll pick up some hematite because I love hematite as far as a good tool to kind of ground and clear. I like selenite as well, but I don't tend to like meditate with crystals. You won't find them in my bra or nothing like that.
Okay. Okay. What? Speaking of tools, what other tools do you use? Do you ever use tarot cards or automatic writing, or you channel? Give us a little insight about some of the tools you do use and how you use them.
Well, first starting out, for sure, I love tarot cards. I used to use Soul Deck 1 and 2, and I think it was a Celtic deck that I used to use. And then eventually I just found that I didn't really need it as much. It just kind of flowed naturally. But I like to write on paper. So I think you could kind of see me as an automatic writer in a way because I'm always writing something when I'm talking to a client. I kind of do an outline of what their reading is going to consist of. And, I kind of give them like an outline of, some things I might write like B12 shot or, something on their paper or draw, kind of like where a tattoo might be or do like a medical intuitive scan. And I do a little stick figure of, what they look like. And I say, okay, we're going to focus on your head, your eyes, your nose, your throat. And then I kind of walk down the body like that. So I would say it's kind of like a form of automatic writing. But, I'm very lucid at the time. I'm not really doing a free flow type of thing. But it kind of reminds me of that, yeah, for sure.
Right. So in other words, you're not like your eyes aren't rolled back in your head and you're writing a bunch of stuff. We got to figure out what you're writing. You're lucid and you know what you're writing.
No.
Yeah. Okay. And so sometimes you kind of use that as a tool, I would say, for a reading for somebody. Is that correct? Sometimes, maybe? Is that how that works?
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, it's a form of automatic writing, and I do that in all of my readings because I do outlines in all of my readings.
Oh, okay.
And except for like when I'm doing like any kind of remote stuff or whatever, but sometimes I'll grab out a paper and a pen and draw an outline of a home and then say, okay, it's in here, it's there, or this, or especially if you got somebody looking for something like a shoe or, a jewelry or something like that. Sometimes I would see that as well. Or sometimes I'll say, no, it's just been stolen. You're not going to be able to see
it. So have you ever been to a place or an area in your travels that was like really supercharged with energy or something like that?
I would say New Orleans still. I mean, for me, driving through New Orleans, it's supercharged. Some can say it's a positive, some could say it's a neutral, some say it's a negative. I get it more as a neutral vibe. But New Orleans is supercharged. When I was in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, it was supercharged there. Arizona, when I was in Arizona, felt like it was supercharged. Probably the highest vibration I felt in a land that was so comfortable that I wanted to live there, and even though Florida is beautiful and the beaches are wonderful. But, and even the beach here in Pensacola, I mean, it's a high charged place as well that I end up going to often as much as possible when it's not cold like it is.
Mm-hmm. Where's the best place you like to go to, say, like meditate or clear your mind? You know what I mean? Is there a place you have that's favorite?
Oh, yeah, definitely the bathtub. I mean, I might be in the bathtub for a good hour or two. Yeah.
Okay.
I would send pictures, but no, I can't. But yeah, like I am so much a bathtub person. I mean, even when I go to the beach, I just kind of float in the water. But I do my best meditating in the bathtub.
Right. And let me ask you this. What do you do for, protection to protect yourself psychically from, some nefarious spirits or whatnot?
I use this thing called a mandra, which is basically taking my thumb and my pointer finger and putting it together on both hands, and then grounding into the earth. Sometimes I'll create. I always do prayer around me for the highest good of all involved, even in myself. And then, sometimes I'll do the white light protection. And a lot of times what I find is, things are going to kind of like come around and the sponge is going to be kind of full at some point. So I'm a firm believer in taking salt baths. I'm a firm believer in using Palo Santo. I like frankincense and myrrh better than sage, but also, would recommend that for anybody listening who's wanting to kind of cleanse the space to start fresh. Some sage or Palo Santo or frankincense and myrrh, juniper. I mean, there's a lot of different things, but those are things that I have used in the past that I find work for me.
Right, and so basically you should change it up. You shouldn't maybe change it up and use different things and add more things to help protect and cleanse yourself, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, I mean, some people use space clearing with crystals, like in the four corners. Some people will salt a room. Some people use brick dust. Some people use Florida water. I don't knock it. I say, look, try one thing because, especially with kids, you might try sage in a room and it not work for the kid. It might not work, so you might have to do something different, like, for instance, putting crystals in the corner or spraying the room with sea salt. So, they're just, I always tell people, try something new. If you meet somebody and they have a new way of clearing negativity, listen to what they say, because sometimes, the essential oils infused in a room works better than doing the sage. It just depends on how you vibe and what you like and what your people are going to react to.
And how do you feel about, what do they call it, like a spray, like a smudging spray? Have you ever heard of that? How do you feel about that?
I totally like smudging sprays, and I told people to amplify it by putting a crystal in it sometimes. So you could do that, and if you really want to, go extra balls to the wall, put it in some moonlight, because that might help as well. But I truly believe that, smudging sprays work just wonderfully, and then, to pray on it, to bless it, would be even more.
Right, and let me ask you this. What kind of a crystal chip would you recommend putting in it?
Usually, I would say the crystal, clear quartz, or rutilated, because it's usually used as an amplifier. Or you could use something like hematite or onyx, almost as like an absorption of negativity. But the clear quartz to me would amplify the intention of what you're trying to do and kind of make it a bigger effect. The other one would receive the negativity. So at some point you'd have to take that stone out, I would think, and cleanse it, because it's an absorption type of thing.
Okay, I see what you're saying. What about black tourmaline? Would that work good too as a
Yeah, all of your black stones, your awesome black stones like me, they work well with this.
Are you going to get in a bottle and going to carry around and spray? Spray it out?
I might have to.
Oh, Lord. Oh, that's good to know. So, if anybody's listening out there, there's all that she just named off all kind of different techniques. Pretty much whatever best works for you, you should go with it if it works, right? Regardless of what it is, correct?
Yeah. Okay. There's no right or wrong with this. And really, you just have to basically do what works for you, because whatever resonates with you is going to work with your people. And your people, like if you're Native American and you were raised on the sage, and even the Palo Santo with that as well. If that works for you, then your entourage of family and ancestry are going to use those same tools to help you do what you need to do, the work you need to do. So it's almost like you go back home. I mean, if you're biblical and you like the Bible and you want to do the crucifix or the rosary for protection in the home, then that's going to work best for you. You use your tools and your belief system to do what's working best for you.
Wow. Good advice. Thank you for that. And let me ask you this. I can't think of the proper pronunciation of the word, but whenever you can pick up an object and get a reading off of an object, I forget how to pronounce that.
That's going to be psychometry.
Yeah, there you go.
Psychometry is what,
So is that up your alley too? Do you? Tell us a little bit about that. That's always fascinated me too.
I think anybody can succumb